Hello friends, welcome to my living room. It is a sunny day in Sweden. We are starting to think about summer travel. What do we need when traveling for summer? Luggage, of course. Not only for summer though, we always need luggage, but that's why we have my friends, my Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage and this little vintage Rimowa trunk as well present with us today. As we all know, the Rimowa luggage has made several appearances on my channel, but we've never really sat down and spoken all about how we feel about it. I mean, essentially we had one-on-one chat with the Rimowa luggage, and that was when the wheel fell off. We're not gonna start with that, but if you're interested, there is a story time on my channel, but we will talk about that a little bit in this video too. But what we're gonna talk about today is, first off, why I chose the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage as my one and only cabin bag. We're also gonna go over a bit of an overview, how it's held up, some wear and tear and stuff. Obviously, we also have to talk about whether or not it's worth it, because clearly it is an expensive piece of luggage, right? Also, we're gonna just kind of summarize whether or not I would recommend this piece of luggage if you're looking for one cabin bag that will take you through all your travels. So guys, let's get right into it. First off, why did I choose the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage? Maybe let's just do a little. Here we have her. I wanted a piece of luggage when I started my first big girl job back in 2018. Essentially before having this luggage, I had just a little Samsonite rolly suitcase. That was fine, that was cute, but when you have a professional job, you travel a lot, you take your luggage everywhere. It's not super fun to have luggage that looks super beat up. As you know, with canvas luggage, after a while it starts looking a little bit grubby, all of that kind of stuff. So that case had done its due diligence. It's been traveling with me for years and years, because that was the family's bag, everyone was traveling with it, and clearly I cannot be taking that bag all the time when someone else might need it, so I needed luggage. That's the key takeaway. I started looking for luggage. Obviously, if we are subscribers to this channel, we do know that I'm one of these people. I appreciate timeless, classic things that will stand the test of time. So that was kind of the mindset I went in with when looking for a cabin bag. Yes, I can buy cheap luggage that I can just replace year on year on year, but that's not really what I wanted to do, right? I wanted to invest in luggage that would stand the test of time and that I could have for years and years. So we, as in me, myself, and I, started looking for luggage online. The Rimowa luggage was kind of the first thing I looked at, and to be honest, I wasn't very open-minded for other luggage options after that. Sure, I looked at some, what are they called, Tumi? Whatever. I looked at some other Samsonite luggage. I looked at Louis Vuitton, Saint Laurent, those luxury brands as well. But ultimately, I reached the conclusion that Saint Laurent, Louis Vuitton kind of luggage, when you have luggage with a monogram, I feel you're more of a target for pickpocketers or people that might want to steal luggage, when traveling. And that didn't really feel particularly safe, in my opinion. And also, if you're gonna use it for business travel, then monogram luggage might not be the most appropriate, I want to say, because I feel when you have huge monogramming in a business formal setting, it doesn't really go, or it's not really appropriate. So I wanted something more low-key. I wanted to buy something from an actual luggage brand, because when you buy something from not a luggage brand, then how good is actually the luggage? Are you just paying for that Louis Vuitton monogram, or that Saint Laurent monogram, or that Celine Triumph cute print on the luggage, whatever. And yes, we're not a stranger to overpaying for designer bags on this channel, as we all know, but equally, I wanted to buy high quality luggage that would stand the test of time. So I reached a conclusion that, can you just roll out of the way for a little moment, please and thank you. I'm sorry to roll you out of the frame. Stay there, please. Essentially, in my family, we're no strangers to Rimowa luggage. I brought in, like, my grandpa's, like, vintage Rimowa trunk for this video, just for funsies. You know, it's like a huge vintage trunk. Do you see that vintage Rimowa logo? And I mean, as he traveled a long time ago for business, this is one of those that doesn't even have wheels. Like I said, we're no strangers to Rimowa luggage. Clearly, this is a vintage piece which you cannot really travel with today, or at least I can't because I'm too weak to carry this level of items. Like handheld, that would not work. Also, we have some other like little Rimowa kind of more cabin sized luggage in this kind of format as well. And like, can I just say how well these pieces have held up? I mean, as you saw with this, clearly we do have some wear and tear and stuff, but I mean overall, when looking at this bag, I mean, surely this is like at least 70 years old at this point, and it's held up this well. That speaks for itself, in my opinion. That was also why I was kind of set on Rimowa luggage from the start. Looking at the different Rimowa options, I mean, clearly you have this classic cabin, which is kind of like the heritage-inspired model, right? It's the one that looks vintage. It is in aluminum. Like, sure, you have others like the original cabin luggage or whatever it's called. That's like plastic on the sides. It's not as, in my opinion, timeless looking. And as I said, I have a preference for timeless and classic looking things. So that was why we landed on the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage as my one and only cabin bag. I bought it and I've now had it for approximately 5 years. So in terms of wear and tear, we're gonna talk about that as well. But first, maybe let's do a little bit of an overview of this one, since we've already had a look a little bit on this big one. But essentially, I know Rimowa has changed some of the things since I bought mine, which in some cases I think are great. In some cases I'm like, why though? You know? One thing that I think it's great that they've changed is this thingy. This one is a little bit flimsy in my opinion. They have upgraded this on like the newer luggage pieces, so it's not as flimsy. It like goes up and down smoother and stuff like that, so I think that's good that they've changed it. This one is obviously in, or I'm not sure if it's obvious, but it is in a dark brown color on the new ones. Both the little like leather handle, the little what's this called actually, the little handle thingy, this one, and also the one on, where is it, the side, that one. They've changed all of these from dark brown to black. I think the dark brown gives it such a like vintage, luxurious, like low-key luxurious vibe. So I'm not a huge fan that they've changed that from brown to black. Also, when I bought mine, they had this like interior that's, as you can see, beige with little airplanes on it. I think this interior is so chic. They've now changed this to black interior. So if you also want the like beige interior with the little airplanes, then you're gonna have to buy a vintage, which buying vintage is a little bit more sustainable always, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so let's just close this one up and get back into what we were talking about. But what I was saying, I've had this bag for 5 years now. I think personally that it looks pretty great. Like, yes, we have a dent, as you can see right here, but equally it is a 5-year-old bag. It is a bag that's been well traveled. We've seen the world together, this bag and I. So in terms of wear and tear on the actual aluminum, I think we're doing pretty great. Yes, we have some little dents, like I said. We do have quite a bit of like scratching as well, but I think that's the kind of name of the game when it comes to aluminum cases. Then on the handle, we do have a little bit of kind of rubbing on the leather. I haven't, this is heavy, I'm getting out of breath from holding it up. That's embarrassing. There is, like I said, some rubbing on the leather on this like handle. I'm not sure if that would go away if I tried to like put some leather conditioner on it. Maybe I should try to do that. I just haven't bothered to do that because in my opinion, luggage doesn't have to look pristine. I think luggage is one of the few bags that I don't mind if it has some wear and tear because then it looks like it's well traveled, which it is. So I don't see why you would hide that, you know? Also, if you just want to have a little quick sneak peek on my grandpa's vintage Rimowa trunk, the opening was a little bit different back then, at least on the trunk kind of cases. Like I just showed you, it has the kind of vintage logo on it. It does have some dents. We're not gonna get into like wear and tear of this one because it's a 70-year-old bag, you know? The interior on this one I think is brilliant. Rimowa, why don't you have this interior anymore? You have the kind of gray straps. You have the same kind of opening and closing mechanism, you know, the security kind of tabs that you kind of close in your clothing. I don't know the terminology, I'm very sorry, but you do have the same opening and closing mechanism, which I think is so interesting on this, like I said, minimum 70-year-old bag versus my new one. It has the gray interior with little Rimowa logos in it. I think this is so precious. Look at this. Oh my god. So chic, so timeless, so classic. And this is why we love Rimowa. It's one of those brands, I think it's existed since, is it like the 1880s or something? It has existed for literally forever. Oops, I'm sorry for the background noise. I just have this one for like decoration purposes now because I think it's still so chic, but I don't travel with it. It's not up to the standards of kind of how easily and how conveniently we're used to rolling our suitcases nowadays, right? So, you know, it's more for aesthetics than for actual use at this point, this one. So that was a little bit of an overview. We've talked about why I chose the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage. We've talked about a little bit of an overview, but there is a small size and there's a regular size. I chose the regular size. So let's just have a little quick run through of the measurements. The Classic Cabin Luggage, this one that I have, is 55 centimeters times 40 times 23 centimeters. The weight of this one though is 4.3 kg. And in Europe, at least for most airlines, the limit for cabin luggage is 8 kilograms. So literally, just by the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage existing, you've already said goodbye to half of your kind of weight allowance on your cabin bag. So do keep that in mind. To be honest, I've never been asked to like weigh my luggage before putting it like as a cabin luggage in the airplane, which thankfully is the case because I'm pretty sure that every time I travel with this luggage, I am overweight. So, you know, do with that what you will. There's also a small cabin luggage. That one is approved for basically all airlines. I know this one is not approved for like Ryanair and stuff, but luckily I don't fly with Ryanair that often. So this far, I haven't had an issue with this one not being approved for all airlines. The Cabin S though, like I said, is approved for basically all airlines. The measurements are 55, 40 times 20 centimeters. So it's basically just 3 centimeters less in width. So not a huge difference, but still I wanted to go for the little bit of a bigger one because I felt like I wanted that additional little space, you know? And the airlines that don't approve this one, I don't fly with that often. So in my simple kind of mind, I thought, no issue. Fine, let's go for the bigger size because they're basically the same price as well. The price of the Cabin S, so the smaller version of this one, is 1,130 euros. The Cabin Normal, the one I have, I'm not sure what to call it. Maybe this is just the Classic Cabin and the other one is just Classic Cabin S. Why am I confusing myself? The one I have regardless is 1,190 euros. So in US dollars, my classic cabin is $1,500. The Classic Cabin S is $1,425 US dollars. In terms of pricing, like I said, it is an expensive luggage piece. For the kind of longevity and how well it stands the test of time, I am willing to pay a little bit more upfront initially and then be able to enjoy that piece for years and years. I mean, it's similar to my handbag collection. As you know there as well, I've bought handbags for like the past 15 years or something, and I have bags in my collection that I bought vintage that are now like 20 plus years old. So, you know, I'm not a stranger to initially splurging a little bit more and then wearing and loving that piece for years and years, which is similar to what we're doing with the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage, right? On that note as well, I feel like when you look secondhand or pre-loved for Rimowa Classic Cabin bags, I would say they hold their value pretty well versus like a Samsonite or something, which, I mean, when you've bought it, you've traveled a few times, that will not hold value on the pre-loved market. With this, you will still be able to sell it on and make a pretty decent amount versus what you paid for it new. So in my opinion, the purchase is pretty safe because, I mean, one, you have that quality. Also, when you buy Rimowa bags now, you have a lifetime warranty. When I bought mine, you had a 5-year warranty, so they have upgraded that, which I think is great. I mean, essentially, I did run into issues with mine, right? So like I said, I filmed a story time. A wheel fell off. I was devastated. I called the Rimowa customer service and they were like, it's gonna be fine. When's the next time you need to travel? You can send it in. We'll replace the wheel for you. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, you know? So I sent it off to Germany. They replaced all the wheels for free. Great service. It went so smoothly. I didn't even have to pay for the shipping there or back. So I was very happy with that. To me, that is how customer service should be, especially when you pay this amount of money for luggage, you know? In terms of, we spoke a little bit about the weight. That I think is a little bit of a con of this bag. I mean, it will become quite heavy when you travel with it, especially if you're trying to push the envelope and travel with it for like 2 weeks and you're like packing everything until the suitcase barely closes. It will be heavy, but that's both your fault and the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage's fault, because that one is 4 kg. Whatever you put in it, you cannot blame on the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage. So don't try to blame it, you know? Talking to myself here, clearly, but I mean, essentially, there's also polycarbonate versions. I mean, to me, sure, they're lighter, but they're not as chic. And I feel like they're not as kind of classic and heritage to the Rimowa brand. I mean, clearly we have this one that has survived 70 years, and I think in terms of a material that will stand the test of time, I feel like aluminum will do better than a polycarbonate, but that's just my opinion. If you despise heavy bags, if you want to do everything you can to limit the weight of your luggage, don't go for the aluminum, then go for the polycarbonate. So all in all, to summarize this little ramble about Rimowa luggage, yes, I do enjoy traveling with my Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage. Yes, I'm happy I bought it. I'm also happy I bought it when I bought it, because now they're a lot more expensive than 5 years ago when I bought it. My personal assumption is that now that LVMH has bought Rimowa, I wouldn't be surprised if prices kept going up, because that's essentially what LVMH does. Look at what we're seeing on kind of Louis Vuitton side of the world, right? They're trying to make stuff, the Neverfull, more exclusive by making it less available. That's kind of the mindset of keeping stuff exclusive. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar with Rimowa. Maybe not minimizing the availability, but rather kind of increasing the price to make it feel more exclusive. That's just my personal assumption. It's not grounded in anything, so don't take it as absolute truth. On another note, yes, it's a heavy bag. Do I mind that it's heavy? A little bit, but do I mind enough to want the polycarbonate version? No. It's pricey, yes. Do I mind that it's pricey? Yes. Would I still repurchase it if something happened with that one? Probably yes. I would probably check secondhand though, because even though they hold their value pretty well, they don't hold their value 100%, you know, because it's not like it's a bag that's difficult to buy and therefore the price goes up on the pre-loved market. No, it's available. You can just buy it from the Rimowa website or from a kind of store. What's it called? Like in an actual store, in an actual mall, face-to-face purchase. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. I need water. But like I said, you could probably score yourself a little bit of a deal on the pre-loved market. Just make sure that it's authentic because it's a bag that's been around for years. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some fakes out there, but just do your due diligence to check that it's authentic if you're gonna buy pre-loved. But like I said, I think it's not impossible to get yourself a little bit of a deal if you try to find it pre-loved. Otherwise, I just think it's a fabulous bag. Like just walking through the airport with this one, the wheels roll so seamlessly. You look so luxurious, timeless, classic, chic with this bag. If you see someone else with this bag in the airport, you just look at each other and you're like, yes, you also know how to travel with style, you know? So it's a little bit of like one of those, I don't want to say if you know, you know, but it's still kind of an if you know, you know kind of bag versus something with like a monogram logo like a Louis Vuitton, right? So timeless, classic, chic, a little bit heavy, a little bit expensive, but great quality that will stand the test of time. It's not a look that you will ever think, oh my gosh, that is so 2009, you know? You'll never think that with a Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage or any Rimowa bags for that matter. Lastly, one thing that I want to mention, Rimowa is not stranger to collaborating with other brands. We've all seen the Supreme one, for example. We've all seen the Dior one. To me, those brand collaborations are too expensive to be worth buying into. I mean, those are thousands on thousands of dollars. I mean, if you're gonna buy like a cabin luggage type of bag, and essentially at best you still have the same quality, you just have probably coloring or embossing or debossing or whatever it is to kind of show that it's a brand collaboration. And to me, a coloring of the Supreme logo does not warrant that level of price, if that makes sense. And also I think the original ones are always the chicest and the most classic and the most timeless. So to me, this is where cabin luggage is at. I'm very happy with mine. Like I said, owned it for 5 years, had one quality issue. It was resolved by the Rimowa crew. To summarize, I'm happy with mine. I don't want any other luggage going forward, and if you're looking into it and if you feel like the pricing is within your budget, I would say you're pretty good with going with a Rimowa luggage. What do you think? Is there other cabin luggage on the market that is more timeless and classic? Do you have the Rimowa Classic Cabin Luggage? Do you have other Rimowa bags? I would love to know. Let's talk all about it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and spending this time and space with me. And until my next video, stay safe, take care, and I will see you soon. And safe travels. Bye.
Oh, hey, ho, bye.